For April 7th when the Dodgers are in D.C. to play a three-game series against the Washington Nationals. Mookie Betts, the only black player on the Dodgers roster, said he's undecided if he'll join his teammates for the White House visit. When Betts was with the Boston Red Sox in 2018, he skipped the team's White House visit after the Red Sox won the World Series that year during Trump's first term. Dodgers manager Dave Roberts, one of only two black managers in Major League Baseball, said he plans to join the team at the White House. In an interview in 2019, near the end of Trump's first term, Roberts said if the Dodgers win the World Series that year, he would not go. Roberts has been a strong advocate for diversity in Major League Baseball. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580 is pleased to announce that like George and Weezy,
well, we're moving on now.
Earlier this year, we were named as semifinalists for the American Climate Leadership Awards 2025. Wait for it. Wait for it.
You ready?
KBLA Talk 1580 was recently selected as one of 10 finalists being considered for this prestigious award. Hundreds of organizations, institutions, and even cities were nominated in the selection process. But KBLA Talk 1580 has made it to the finals. You're invited to watch live on Wednesday, April 16th. At 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Central, as Eco America announces the winner and the runner-up, awarding over $200,000 in prize money. To watch live, just go to ecoamerica.org to register and attend the online ceremony. That's ecoamerica.org. Don't miss the presentation of the American Climate Leadership Awards 2025, Wednesday, April 16th, and wish us luck. Caring about the climate, caring about the community, changing the conversation. We're KBLA Talk 1580, and we've got your black.
Live from historic Leimert Park in Los Angeles, California, I'm Tavis Smiley, and I'm so glad to see you and me back in stride again. Before we get started with today's show, let me invite you to follow me on Facebook and Instagram at The Real Tavis Smiley, and get updates on X, that's formerly Twitter, at Tavis Smiley. By the way, should you miss any part of today's program or want to catch up on previous shows, you can always visit thetavissmileyshow.com. That's thetavissmileyshow.com, or wherever you get your podcast, and listen to the Tavis Smiley podcast version of this live program at your leisure. Another great show on tap for you today in our second hour. Two conversations. Up first, how many times have you been asked, who do you think you are? Ever heard that before? Sure you have. Who do you think you are? Well, Martha Jones was confronted with that question just weeks into college when a black studies classmate challenged her right to speak, suspicious of the color of her skin and the texture of her hair. After a lifetime of introspection, Martha Jones, now one of the nation's most highly regarded historians, has authored an intimate and searching book titled The Trouble of Color, an American family memoir. We'll talk about that on the top side of hour two. On the B side of hour two, decades of talking about the digital divide, and it's still not closed. Wayman Jackson, president of Ed Farm, on the future of tech education and how to get serious, really serious, about closing the digital divide for undersourced students in this country. In our third hour, journalist and author Jacob Silverman sounds the alarm on the scourge of crypto scams and previews his forthcoming text about Silicon Valley and the political right. Jacob's previous best-selling book was called Easy Money: Cryptocurrency, Casino Capitalism, and the Golden Age of Fraud. We'll talk about these crypto scams that you want to avoid in our third hour. But in this first hour, let's talk politics with one of our favorite guests, national affairs correspondent for The Nation magazine, John Nichols. John, how are you, sir?
Well, I am better now that I've heard your voice.
Likewise. I don't know what that was. I guess I was doing my best Ed McMahon impression, stretching out that first name, John. But I digress, and I'm glad to have you on. A lot to cover in this first hour. Let me start with this. This story is just, as you well know, blowing up. The Atlantic on today published the full text chain from Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth and other top Trump officials detailing operations to carry out U.S. military airstrikes in a signal chat group with a reporter, namely Jeffrey Goldberg of The Atlantic, after the White House denied that war plans had been shared. I said on this program many weeks ago, and I was actually wrong about this part, I didn't think that Pete Hegseth was going to make it through as Defense Secretary. I was right about the guy in Florida. He didn't make it at AG, Matt Gaetz. But I was wrong about Pete Hegseth making it through as Defense Secretary. What I was right about was that he was not qualified. He was woefully unqualified to be Defense Secretary, and we see that playing out in a variety of ways. I saw a meme pop up in my phone yesterday, and the meme essentially said that Lloyd Austin was derided by the right, the political right, for being a DEI hire in the Biden administration. Well, Lloyd Austin didn't make this mistake. So clearly he was qualified enough to not make a rookie mistake, like inviting a reporter to a chat room and sharing war plans with a reporter before the airstrikes happened. The black defense secretary didn't make that mistake. So the Atlantic now, because they are tired of the White House denying that these war plans were shared, it's impugning the reputation of the Atlantic magazine. So they wobble, drop it like it's hot today. The report that they've released includes screenshots of the group text, which detail drone attacks, the sequencing of the attacks, and the type of weaponry they were about to use. All of this stuff is in these messages that the Atlantic has revealed today. There are calls, as you know now, increasingly for Pete Hegseth to step down. Donald Trump, at the moment at least, has defended Mike Waltz, Trump's national security advisor, who was a part of this process. He has, to the moment at least, defended Pete Hegseth and basically said it was a mistake. They've learned from it, but it was no big deal. It's no big deal. So that's what the president is saying as of right now. But the Atlantic has detailed all of the text messages that came through this chat. This is a major mistake. It puts the lives of American servicemen and women at risk for you to be telling reporters what you're about to do in detail before you do it. It's a huge mistake on top of many other mistakes, statements that Pete Hegseth has made that he's had to back down on, statements that he's made that Donald Trump has corrected him on. Clearly, he's in over his head as defense secretary. All these departments matter, but I repeat, this is the Department of Defense. This is the one place where you don't want to be making these kinds of mistakes because these are real life and death decisions. So the heat is on. Pete Hegseth today, if he thought he was under heat in those confirmation hearings, the heat is really on right about now. We'll talk about that and a great deal more in this hour when we come forward with John Nichols of The Nation magazine. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
From Lamert Park with love, this is Tavis Smiley.
This is an ad by BetterHelp. Think about your mentors and idols, the people who inspire you the most. While it may look like they have all the answers, they don't. But they do know when to ask questions and seek the support they need. In a world that glorifies hyper-independence, it's easy to forget that we're all better with a support system. Therapy is a great way to find a consistent source of support in your life so you can break free from the outdated belief that seeking help is a sign of weakness. BetterHelp has experienced therapists ready to help you with challenges ranging from anxiety and depression to relationships and stress. It's convenient, too. You can join a session with the click of a button, helping you fit therapy into your busy life. You can even send your therapist a message anytime something comes up. Build your support system with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/ABCRadio today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/ABCRadio.
Make a move into a home of your own. With City National Bank's Ladder Up Home Loan Grant, you could receive up to $20,000 that you never need to pay back. Use it toward your down payment, save on closing costs, or to buy down your mortgage rate. Find out more at cnb.com/ladderuphome. City National, here for every stage of the journey. Property must be in a qualifying market in California, New York, or New Jersey. Additional terms and conditions apply. Not all applicants will qualify. Terms are subject to change without notice. City National Bank is an equal housing lender. Member FDIC. NMLS number 536994.
Need a ride? Ride in style. Choose K-Meets. Luxury transportation that puts you first. K-Meets has you covered with our 6-seater Sprinter limo that's perfect for couples, proms, weddings, and events. Whether it's a night out, special event, or just because, our Elite Sprinter offers the perfect blend of luxury and intimacy without the crowd. Looking for SUV? K-Meets has that too. Elite SUV service available for your next ride. Book at kmeblack.com or call today 424-500-4751. Again, kmeblack.com 424-500-4751.
Are you having trouble hearing? Hearing loss can devastate the quality of your life. Now, there's an affordable fix for you or your loved one. Rated in the best hearing aids of 2024 by USA Today, Audion Hearing has the highest quality hearing aids at the lowest prices, just $189.
I actually like them better than my old $5,000 hearing aids.
I could not believe how my hearing and life changed.
Join over 500,000 happy customers by going to audionhearing.com. That's AUDIEN hearing.com.
Oh no, stomach issues again?
Stomach issues?
Who are you?
Your pancreas. I could be the real reason for your diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose oily stools.
I thought it was my stomach.
People often do, but any of these symptoms could mean having a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and speak with your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
Freedom is an endless meeting. So let's get back to it with Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley and John Nichols of The Nation magazine. So I took a few moments there, John, to set this up. I am done setting it up. Take it away, sir.
It's a big deal, my friend.
Yeah.
Look, I don't even know how to begin to tell you how this would be treated if it had happened in the Biden administration.
Yeah.
Give you an example, or in the Obama administration, or any previous administration. If you'd had this sort of crisis, really, this mess involving so many top figures, right? You know, obviously we note Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of Defense, but all of these other people that were involved. And I can tell you that it is not just a domestic issue. This isn't just partisan politics playing back and forth. I was on Irish radio this morning, and I do a lot of it. We were going to talk about the sorry state of the Democratic Party, which is certainly a good topic. Mm-hmm. But we had, it ended up with a huge portion of the discussion on the show about what was happening in Washington with this sort of meltdown of communications, and you can be assured that the rest of the world is looking at this in ways that some people domestically may not be thinking of immediately.
John, I'm sorry. Before you go forward, since you were on an international call with journalists earlier today, and they were so concerned about this brewing and growing crisis. What were their concerns as globalists? What were their concerns about this meltdown in our government, in our Defense Department?
Well, what you're seeing around the world, what people are saying is, and these are people who like the United States, who mm-hmm. feel the United States is a very essential partner on the global stage, even in this increasingly complex moment. And they were saying, governments, intelligence agencies are not going to be competent sharing information.
That part.
Yeah, that's a pretty big deal, my friend. Right?
Yeah.
Because if they're not competent in sharing information with the United States because they fear that somehow it will
get leaked,
pop up on a
signal chat
phone.
Yeah,
right. That creates two challenges. One, how do you partner with the United States effectively? Right. These are people who want to partner with the United States. Mm-hmm. And two, if that information doesn't come to the United States, right? If we don't get it, if we're not, a central part of this overall global discussion, not just about defense issues, but about economic issues, about all sorts of other issues which matter and which sometimes involve a lot of back channel communication, this further isolates the United States, right? Mm-hmm. And again, doesn't isolate it from people who we don't get along with. It isolates the United States from people we do get along with as a country. Mm-hmm. It's hard to, if you're trying to add up the devastating impact of what has occurred, it'd be hard to overestimate it.
Yep. This is not the first administration by far to attempt a cover-up of classified or sensitive data getting out. But there are a couple of things about this that are really fascinating for me. I want to just remind people, now that this brilliant audience needs to be reminded. But you recall all the hell that Hillary Clinton caught from Donald Trump and others over that server? and their concerns that because the server was at her house, that stuff might get out. And they went after Hillary Clinton, and then they started that chant, lock her up, lock her up, lock her up, all of that stuff that came out of Hillary Clinton. Well, look at what happens here. And the administration isn't just downplaying it. They're not just downplaying, John, the gravity of this breach, but they actually denied. Yesterday, they denied that classified material was shared in the chat. And Jeffrey Goldberg, who I know rather well, I've known Jeffrey for decades, Jeffrey Goldberg and the Atlantic were just sick of people, being told that they were lying, that, this didn't happen. So they didn't, as I'm reading a number of stories, I haven't talked to Jeffrey as yet, because I'm reading a number of stories, they didn't want to release this data because there is sensitive information in the data. Right. But they were tired of the White House calling them liars. And that's not unusual for Donald Trump to call the media, fake news. So they made that cry again, fake news. And Atlantic said, no, not fake news. This is really what they told us. And so they put all of this stuff, and I encourage you to read it today. I mean, it really is scary when you see the U.S. planning a military excursion and all of the details of what they're about to do, the folk they're about to kill. Everything they're about to do is leaked, not just leaked, but just given to a reporter who was invited to this chat. I mean, it's really, as John said, scary stuff. But again, they didn't just downplay it, the gravity of it, but they denied that this stuff was actually put out there, and the Atlantic now puts egg all over their face. What's Trump do now that they denied that it ever happened, John Nichols?
Well, I mean, look, I think the president's been put in a very, very difficult position. And understand this, he wasn't on this conversation, right? These were other people.
Hey, John, he was the only one not on the conversation, the president.
Yeah, well,
the only guy not there,
yeah. Right. But this has already caused, as we were talking about a moment ago, international outcry, not just domestic. This isn't just a problem at home politically. As I was saying about being on this Irish radio show, I was there to talk about the Democratic Party. I spent my time there instead listening to Irish hosts and Irish commentators and commentators from other places saying, this is kind of the biggest deal going on right now, right? Not all over the world. This is what people are talking about. So the president has to take that in, right? He has to be conscious that this is something that is affecting the United States in profound ways. He also has to be conscious of the domestic political challenge here, because there are even some, not a lot, some Republicans in Congress who are saying, look, this is a real problem. This is something that has to be taken seriously. Some are doing it publicly, some back channel. Yeah. I think the pressure on the president to remove someone, right, to either ask someone to resign or to fire somebody,
yeah.
and remember, this is the guy who became famous saying you're fired, is going to become very great.
Yeah.
And I know this president has a huge ego. He doesn't like to acknowledge that he put the wrong person in the wrong place.
Yeah.
And that's going to, I don't know where it's going to turn out. I can't tell you what he will decide. But I will suggest to you that it's not just the serious political side. It is the mockery of his administration and of people in his administration for their incompetence that I think is going to become a pressure on Trump that might well lead to the removal of at least some people from positions in his administration. And that's a very bad thing. And when you're still at this very early stage in your presidency.
Yeah. To show you how bad they have lied about this, I'm talking about the White House now. The White House press secretary said yesterday, and that's why they got smacked today by the Atlantic. This is a quote from the White House press secretary, Carolyn Leavitt, yesterday. This entire story was another hoax written by a Trump hater who is well known for his sensationalist spin. She's talking about Jeffrey Goldberg. This is just 24 hours ago. The White House press secretary is calling this a hoax. This entire story is just another hoax written by a Trump hater who's well known for his sensationalist spin. That was yesterday. And then yesterday, the White House National Security Advisor, Mr. Walls, said in a statement, no locations, no sources, and no methods were released. That's the again, National Security Advisor. No locations, no sources, and no methods of attack were released. That's what they said yesterday. Now, let me read for you. This is radio. You can't see this, but I really want you. This story's everywhere. I'm reading right now, just so you know, from the USA Today story. The headline is, Atlantic reveals U.S. attack plans discussed by Trump officials in Signal group chat. You can follow me right now, if you will, by Googling the story in USA Today if you're not driving. Why do I want you to do this? I want you to see, not just hear what John and I talk about. I want you to see in black and white what these text messages said. It's fascinating. My dad was in the military for 37 years, but it's fascinating to see these text messages for this attack happening in real time that was shared with the press. So let me just read a few of these. Time now, reads the text. Weather is favorable, reads the text. Just confirmed with Sitcom, we are a go for mission launch, reads the text. F-18s launch now. First strike package, reads the text. Trigger base F-18 strike window starts right now. Location hit should be on time. Also, strike drones launch now. Next text. This is from the Defense Secretary. I'm reading text messages from Pete Hegseth. More F-18s launch now. Strike drones on target. This is when the first bombs will definitely drop. These are his texts. Strike drones on target. This is when the first bombs will definitely drop. Next text. Strike starts. Also, first sea-based Tomahawks launched. More to follow per timeline. These are the messages in real time that the Secretary of Defense was texting in a thread to a reporter, Jeffrey Goldberg from The Atlantic. It is eerie, John, to actually read this stuff in black and white as I am right now on the radio.
You're exactly right. And look, my dad was in the military for roughly the same amount of time as your dad. My dad was in the Air Force. And I grew up around bases. I grew up around, this world. I don't claim to know it. And certainly not with the depth of people who've served and people who've done, great work along the way. But what I can tell you is I knew as a kid that, there were some things that you didn't share, right? That people didn't tell you because they were supposed to remain, very closely guarded secrets. Now, most of the people involved in this conversation might well have been folks with whom the information was shared. But the complexity of it is, you remember those pictures that we sometimes see released after a big assault, a big attack of some kind. They're all in the the Situation Room, right?
Yep.
They're all gathered there. The president, the vice president, the secretary of defense, the other people, they're together, and they are, watching, and they're consulting, talking. Well, there's a reason that they're together, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the safest, best place to have everybody, to be communicating about something that presumably is important, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that, you don't want to risk leaks. You don't want to risk it. Clearly, this administration hasn't developed that level of, it doesn't seem to develop that level of coherence on this. And there's one other thing I'll throw in the mix. There was a lot of discussion on this about whether this was the right time to do it, or, is everything too good? Is it an emergency? And as Justin Amash, the former congressman, very conservative Republican, has pointed out, if you read this with another eye, beyond all the national security concerns, you see a blatant disregard for Congress, for the constitutional requirement that when you're launching military initiatives, you're supposed to be consulting with Congress. To start a war, you're supposed to have it declared. And that just isn't there.
Yep.
You know what I mean? It reveals a lot about how this administration is operating.
Yep.
And it raises a profound concern, because if this happened in this instance, what about the next instance? What about, something that involves even more serious weapons, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we take seriously every human life and every incident and everything of this, but there are exponentially greater weapons and interactions, moments, and you want the people who are in power to take that very, very seriously, right? And to take the need for security, the need for a practical, serious discussion before you launch an initiative, and then also the need to keep it, focused on what you're doing. It doesn't look like that's happening here.
Yep. Let me ask you, got 90 seconds to go here, and I want to get some other issues in this hour. Bernie Sanders and AOC are on this Fight Oligarchy tour, and thousands of people are showing up for this tour. We'll talk about that part. Somebody on the left is pushing back and getting some response, even as Democrats are still in this identity crisis mode. So we'll talk about this Fight Oligarchy tour when we come forward with John Nichols. But here's my extra question on this topic, at least, I think, which is whether or not you expect somebody's head to roll. You mentioned earlier that Donald Trump is arrogant and pompous. Those are my words, not yours, no question about it. But it seems to me that the chorus is growing here. There are now Republicans, of course, who are raising questions about this as well. And so it seemed to me that somebody's head needs to roll. I'm not sure if it's Mr. Walz, who Mr. Trump has defended, or Mr. Hegseth, who he's also defended to to this actual moment. But in 45 seconds, does somebody's head roll here?
I think there's a real good possibility of that, because first and foremost, Donald Trump is self-protective, right? He wants to make sure that he doesn't get the blame. And if you don't, demand some accountability within your organization, within your operation, fingers begin to point at you. So I suspect there is a good chance that someone will be told to resign or fired. But the question that I think will be ongoing, at least for a bit, is how high up do you go?
Yeah, that's the question. How high up do you go? I lied. I said that was the last question on this. When we come forward, I have one more. I have one more question for John about this. When we come forward, let me tell you what it is. As I say all the time, I love talking to a brilliant audience every day. Some of their questions are better than mine sometimes. Here's a question for John. When we come forward, does this Signal chat story help the Trump administration? Help them distract from the atrocities committed by the attack on these innocent Yemenis? Put another way, are we taking the bait by focusing on this Tavis and not the actual attack? I love a smart audience. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
Helping to stretch your moral and political imagination. This is Tavis Smiley.
Some people just know they could save hundreds on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Like to check your sunroof is closed first before driving through the car wash.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Oh, no. Wait, whoa.
Yeah, checking first is smart. So check Allstate first for a quote that could save you hundreds. You're in good hands with Allstate.
Savings vary. Terms apply. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
I'm Bree Wood with 4 Things You Should Know with BIN News. National Security Advisor Mike Waltz took responsibility for an information leak involving U.S. airstrikes in Yemen. In an interview with Laura Ingraham, he admitted to starting the group chat. Texas Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett is under fire for apparently mocking Governor Greg Abbott, who was confined to a wheelchair after a tragic accident in his 20s.
Y'all know we got Governor Hot Wheels down there. Come on now.
The comments made at a human rights campaign dinner in Los Angeles went viral. Senator John Cornyn called the remarks disgraceful. Ukraine and Russia have agreed to a limited ceasefire in the Black Sea and will work to halt strikes on energy following 3 days of negotiations in Saudi Arabia with U.S. mediators. And the NCAA men's basketball tournament is seeing its highest viewership in 32 years, averaging 9.4 million viewers through the second round, peaking at 10.1 million on Sunday. Get BIN News on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Change the way you see the world at the San Diego Zoo Safari Park. Depart from their new Safari Excursions Depot and embark on a once-in-a-lifetime experience you'll never forget. Plus, every adventure helps support wildlife worldwide. Plan your visit to the San Diego Zoo Safari Park today.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Dodgers have accepted an invitation from President Trump to be honored at the White House for winning the World Series last season. The celebration is scheduled for April 7th when the Dodgers are in D.C. to play a 3-game series against the Washington Nationals. Mookie Betts, the only black player on the Dodgers roster, said he's undecided if he'll join his teammates for the White House visit. When Betts was with the Boston Red Sox in 2018, he skipped the team's White House visit after the Red Sox won the World Series that year during Trump's first term. Dodgers manager Dave Roberts, one of only 2 black managers in Major League Baseball, said he plans to join the team at the White House. In an interview in 2019, near the end of Trump's first term, Roberts said if the Dodgers win the World Series that year, he would not go. Roberts has been a strong advocate for diversity in Major League Baseball. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
A new day is on the horizon. Behind every great moment in history, there's a woman whose story went untold. This March on KBLA Talk 1580, we're bringing those hidden narratives to light. Hear extraordinary stories of women who transformed science, politics, arts, and community. Women you've never heard of, but should know. Celebrating Women's History Month on KBLA Talk 1580, where every story matters.
KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
Think It Up is an initiative to activate student-powered, teacher-led learning projects. Students and teachers, how can you spark great learning experiences in your classrooms today? Join at thinkitup.org.
At Exquisite Family Mortuary, we know how overwhelming it can be planning a meaningful farewell for your loved one. Secure your peace of mind by calling Charlotte White at 323-577-5562. That's Charlotte White at 323-577-5562. From traditional funeral services to memorials to direct cremation, pre-needs, and more. Call Charlotte White at Exquisite Family Mortuary for Southern hospitality in Southern California. That's Charlotte White at 323-577-5562. Exquisite Family Mortuary is located nearby in Inglewood, California. Exquisite Family Mortuary, where your loved one becomes our loved one.
paid for by government.com. Did you know the United States Mint has issued a new Morgan silver dollar coin in proof condition for the first time? Not only that, they are also minted in 99.9% pure silver for the first time ever in history. Coin experts are calling this an amazing opportunity for anyone that knows the enduring popularity of Morgans. But you must hurry. Only 400,000 of these legal tender silver dollars were issued. These first ever Morgan silver dollars are brand new with stunning mirror-like finish, minted by the iconic San Francisco Mint. Call now and you're guaranteed a new first ever 99.9% pure silver proof Morgan dollar. To learn more, call 1-800-973-9717. If you order now, you will receive a free coin collector bonus pack, a $25 value, free with every order. Call 1-800-973-9717 now to secure your new Morgan silver dollars before they are gone. That's 1-800-973-9717.
Sometimes he fails at fitting in, but we're okay with that. You're inside the Tavis Smiley Show.
You are indeed with John Nichols, National Affairs Correspondent for The Nation magazine. I want to pivot here in just a moment to this Fight Oligarchy tour, which is gaining a lot of steam. But in case you've just tuned in, we've been talking about the White House denying that this information about these attack plans in Yemeni were released. And the irony of it, John, is I was literally just scrolling a moment ago during that break. In real time, the White House is still saying that no classified information was in the chat. Now, the stuff is out. So I guess they have a different definition of classified than you or I do, or the American people do. But they're still holding forward to this thing that there was no classified information. I guess they can't call it a hoax anymore. So they've let go of the hoax story that they were running yesterday. But they're still, holding on to this notion that no classified information. So I guess now this means that reporters at The Nation and The Atlantic and everywhere else can be privy to this kind of data in real time before it happens, since it ain't classified. I mean, how stupid does that sound? For them to continue to try to frame this and to lie about what they did yesterday, try to cover up what they did yesterday. But here's the question that was posed by one of our listeners. I want to get to John right quick. Does this Signal chat story, Tavis, help the Trump administration distract us from the atrocities committed by this attack on innocent Yemenis? Put another way, are we taking the bait by focusing on this and not the actual attack? For me, John, before you jump in, it's not either or, it's both and. We ought to be talking about this question that's raised by this listener, but it's not either or, it's both and. This is a legitimate breach that needs to be addressed, and at the same time, we ought to be talking about the attack on these innocent Yemenis, but I digress. It's all yours, John Nichols.
Well, unfortunately, we're going to end up agreeing, so it's not going to be that good a debate between us. It is and, not or, right? And this is the reality. I hope I was getting at it a little bit in the last segment there, where we're talking about that sort of hidden within this conversation, or present within it, was a disregard for Congress, right? A disregard for the constitutional responsibility that our military actions must be approved by the Congress, except in the greatest of emergencies. And there is little suggestion that this was an immediate emergency. And I think that gets to your listener's question. One of the reasons that we want consultation, one of the reasons that we want Congress to debate military actions, is because we want to bring that human element in, and we want to have that deeper discourse. Is this necessary? Have we exhausted all of our diplomatic routes for dealing with a question about trade routes, right? And, how you move ships around in the Middle East. If we haven't, then why are we doing this? And what is being done to make sure that if it is necessary, it targets the responsible players, not innocent people in one of the poorest and most hard-hit countries in the world. And that's the value of a debate, right?
Yep.
But when you have powerful figures kind of like, popping back and forth on their phone about what just happened or what's about to happen, without much actual discourse, and it was very interesting that when you look at the discourse that did occur, was driven a little bit, apparently, by J.D. Vance's concerns about whether Europe should be involved in this or whether this should be Europe's responsibility. And I think that, that just doesn't go to the level of depth that the United States of America should go to when it is deciding whether to launch a military action. It may not be a full-scale war, but, the definition of war becomes a very significant thing here, because if you see it as a bombing mission, if you're doing it, but boy, if those bombs are falling on you, it feels like war.
Yeah. Let me close the circle on this conversation before I move to the oligarchy tour with Bernie Sanders and AOC and others. Excuse me. Let me close this conversation with a couple other points that I want to share. So Pete Hegseth closes essentially this thread by texting, "Great job, all. Great job, all. More strikes ongoing for hours tonight, and we'll provide full initial report tomorrow. But on time, on target, and good readouts so far." That's what he had to say, the Defense Secretary, Mr. Hegseth, at the end of the chat, essentially. Mr. Walls, the National Security Advisor, was on Fox News last evening and said he took full responsibility, his phrase, full responsibility for Mr. Goldberg's presence in the Signal chat. I quote from him now on Fox News last night, "I take full responsibility. I built the group. It's embarrassing. We're going to get to the bottom of it," close quote. Get to the bottom of what? You did it. You invited the guy. What is there an investigation about? What's there to get to the bottom of? You did it. It's an embarrassing mistake. You ought to stand down. You ought to step down. But an investigation to get to the bottom of what? How it happened? You invited Jeffrey Goldberg from The Atlantic. He says, Mr. Walls does, that they're going to investigate how the heck, that's his phrase, how the heck Jeffrey Goldberg got in the chat. Among the screenshots published today in the Atlantic story that we referenced earlier is one detailing Jeffrey Goldberg's initial introduction to the Signal chat. And the text reads very clearly, "Mike Walls added you to the group." Mike Walls added you to the group. That's how Goldberg got there. Mike Walls added him. National Security Advisor invited this reporter to the chat. But he's saying they're going to do an investigation to figure out what happened and get to the bottom of it. That's nonsense. For his part, the one guy, as John and I established earlier, who was not on the chat, Donald Trump, the president, has weighed in. He called Jeffrey Goldberg. I mean, this would be laughable, John, if it weren't so serious. Your Defense Department leaks all this classified information. Your press secretary calls this thing yesterday a hoax. And today, even though the stuff is out now, they're still saying nothing classified was released. But that doesn't stop Donald Trump from calling, and I quote, Jeffrey Goldberg is a total sleazebag. That's what the president called Mr. Goldberg, a total sleazebag. Went on to say, the president did, that Walls has no reason to apologize. It's just something that can happen, Trump said of the breach. So it's just something that can happen. Mr. Walls, your national security advisor, has nothing to apologize for. It was a hoax. No classified information was released. And the reporter that was invited to the chat by the Defense Department, John Nichols' final word to you, is a total sleazebag, says the president.
So, I mean, we end with a question, right? And that is, if he's this horrible person, right, as the president and as Hegseth and others have suggested, and somebody who makes things up or does, all sorts of incredibly irresponsible things, why would anyone in the inner circle of national defense invite him in?
Yeah,
right.
That's it.
I mean, it gets to the heart of the matter. Of course, Jeffrey Goldberg has been a very mainstream editor for a very, very long time, and somebody who has interviewed and talked with and been around Democrats and Republicans.
Oh, yeah.
So he suddenly becomes a very bad figure, quote unquote bad, when there's a controversy.
Yeah.
But shortly before that controversy, somebody within the inner circle was inviting him in to a conversation that, frankly, has blown up on the Trump administration.
When you hear Donald Trump call Goldberg a total sleazebag, then it does make you wonder. When he also suggests that Mr. Walz had nothing to apologize for, it also makes you wonder whether or not heads will roll. I asked that question of John Nichols earlier. Are heads going to roll? John said maybe so. Maybe not, John. If that's how the president views this, there's nothing to apologize for, and the reporter who was invited is a sleazebag, a total sleazebag, I'm not sure heads are going to roll. And that's the scariest part of this, that here's a huge breach that the president of the United States doesn't even take seriously. But why should we be surprised by that? This is the guy who had classified documents in his bathroom at Mar-a-Lago that he had stolen from Washington. So I guess it makes sense when you think about it. I'm done with it for now. When we come forward, the oligarchy tour with Bernie Sanders, we'll talk about that with John Nichols on Tavis Smiley.
This is getting good.
Yeah, man.
Tavis Smiley continues when we come forward.
We asked seniors how to prevent Medicare scams.
My best advice, if you get a phone call, do not talk to the person. These people are well-trained. Don't talk to them.
They don't know me. They're just trying to scam me.
Don't be fooled. Hang up. Just hang up.
Never give out your Medicare number.
They're going to get your number to put in a false claim.
If I get a call from someone, I don't pick up the phone. And should I pick up the phone and they ask for information, then I hang up.
How do you detect Medicare fraud?
Just like I check my credit card statements, I check my Medicare statements monthly.
Scammers can get a hold of your number, order medical devices through your account, and you're not even going to know about it if you don't look at your statement.
Check your statement every month.
If you get your statement and you see something that you know you did not have done, you report it.
Call your senior Medicare Patrol.
To report Medicare fraud, call the Senior Medicare Patrol at 855-613-7080.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Imagine a Los Angeles where everyone can thrive, where communities have access to the resources they need to succeed. That's the vision of Detours Mentoring Group, Inc. They're dedicated to improving life in LA County by providing educational support, employment assistance, and spaces for community engagement. By 2050, they want LA to be the best place to connect, create, learn, live, and play. They're working toward an education system that's well-resourced and culturally responsive, becoming a hub for artists and innovators, and making sure everyone has access to healthy food, quality healthcare, and safe housing. It's about building a future where we all have the chance to succeed. We invite you to learn more about their mission and get involved with Detours Mentoring Group, Inc. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Texting privacy policy and terms and conditions posted at textplan.us. Texting enrolls for recurring automated text marketing messages. Message and data rates may apply. Reply stopped, opt out. Individual results may vary. Consult a doctor prior to use.
You've lost so much weight. How'd you do it?
I got medical treatment for weight loss through Zelty and lost 50 pounds. I struggled for the longest time, but Zelty makes it easy and affordable to get weight loss treatment 100% online. Zelty providers can prescribe FDA-approved weight loss medications clinically shown to help people lose weight, like Wegovy, Zepbound, and others.
I've heard those medications can help you lose weight, but aren't they expensive?
Zelty can help get the medication covered by insurance, so it's as little as $0 a month.
What if you don't have insurance?
No problem. Zelty may be able to help you get other GLP-1 medications for 80 to 90% off the price of name brand medications.
I'm ready to start losing weight. How do I get started with Zelty?
Just text.
Text SUNNY to 200-300 to get started today with Zelty and see if weight loss medications like Wegovy and Zepbound are right for you. Don't wait. Text now for a link to your exclusive offer. Text SUNNY to 200-300. That's SUNNY to 200-300. SUNNY to 200-300.
He's a paradigm pioneer and the top-rated African-American talk show host in the nation, according to Talkers Magazine. You're tapped in with Tavis Smiley right now.
Tavis Smiley and John Nichols of the Nation Magazine. Here's some sound from Senator Bernie Sanders on the Fight Oligarchy tour.
Does anybody think it makes sense that we have a campaign finance system where one man, Musk, can put $270 million to get Trump elected, and then his reward is that he becomes the most powerful person in government? That is not democracy. That is oligarchy.
There's Bernie Sanders back at it again. These tours are being attended by thousands and thousands of people. And even as Democrats, as I suggested earlier, John Nichols, are suffering, wandering, that is, in the wilderness with an identity crisis. Bernie Sanders and AOC and others, they know exactly what they intend to do, and people are responding to it.
That's exactly right. In fact, I was talking to the senator just the other day, and he was, I think, genuinely stunned by the turnout. He knew there were people out there that were concerned, and he was obviously going out to talk to him, AOC along with, and Greg Casar from Texas. But, look, this is incredible. I mean, Sanders drew more people at that Denver rally than he had drawn at any of his rallies during his presidential campaign.
Mm-hmm.
And you think this isn't a presidential year?
And he's not a candidate right now.
He is, and he's not going to be.
Yeah.
And so what you're really seeing here is people have been kind of desperate. They want some way that they can communicate, that they can speak about the crisis, right? And they're looking for some way to get engaged, right? To come out and participate, raise the issues, demand that Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid be protected, to object to Musk's role. I mean, there's all sorts of reasons they're coming, but they are coming.
Yeah.
And I guess the main thing I will tell you, Tavis, is this. Why was it Bernie Sanders?
John, stop. I was just about to say the same exact thing. This is the part about the Democratic apparatus that kills me. I take nothing away from the popularity of Bernie Sanders. He's a bad man. I take nothing away from the popularity of AOC. But that's the point, that you do a tour, Democratic Party. You include Bernie, AOC, and others in the tour. But this is what the Democratic Party ought to be doing, not Bernie Sanders, not AOC. And I ain't mad at them. Again, they're popular, and I see why people turn out. But it's more than just their popularity. John put his finger on it. People want to push back. They want some resistance. They want some opposition. That's what Bernie and AOC represent in this moment. Why the Democratic Party doesn't get that, I don't understand it. I don't get it. This is exactly what they ought to be doing, tapping into this nerve. But they're not. I digress for now. I'll give John Nichols the final word when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
This is getting good.
Yeah, man.
Tavis Smiley continues when we come forward.
Robinhood Gold members can now enjoy the VIP treatment, receiving a 3% IRA match on annual retirement contributions. With Robinhood Gold, the perks of the high net worth are now available for any net worth. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. To receive a 3% boost on annual IRA contributions, sign up at Robinhood.com/gold.
Investing involves risk. 3% match requires Robinhood Gold $5 a month for 1 year from first match. Must keep funds in IRA for 5 years. Go to Robinhood.com/boost. Robinhood Financial LLC member SIPC. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold LLC.
If you're like me, 60 and retired, making ends meet, especially here at the supermarket and drugstore, is tough. I'm so blessed to have found benefitscheckup.org. It's a free and confidential website from the National Council on Aging that connected me to $1,200 a year in programs that help pay for food, medicine, utilities, and more. Maybe it can help you. benefitscheckup.org.
You know where you want to go in life, and City National Bank can help. City National knows the dedication it takes to build your vision for the future into a reality, and our team is here for you. We have a wide range of options to help, from personal savings accounts to interest-bearing money market savings accounts and more, all designed to help you get where you want to go. City National, here for every stage of the journey. Learn more at cnb.com. City National Bank is a subsidiary of Royal Bank of Canada, member FDIC.
Hear that? That's the sound of your life. Perfectly imperfect. Beating in rhythm to the world you've created. But every time you drive after drinking, the music gets drowned out. Your life sounds pretty great. Don't let a buzz ruin it. Buzz driving is drunk driving. Don't drive buzzed. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
At the tone, please record your message.
You ready?
Drop it! Mr. Tavis, Smiley, preach it. Thank you, man. Politics in this country is crazy. You put things in perspective that even I didn't. The right is playing fast and loose with facts and scapegoating everyone under the sun, especially black and brown people. As a white man, I do not agree with this, and I am on my black and brown brothers and sisters' side. Fight the good fight. Know that I am part of the resistance. Let's fight the power.
Our freedom of speech is freedom of death. We got to fight the powers that be.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black. Freedom is an endless meeting. So let's get back to it with Tavis Smiley.
I got 4 minutes left with John Nichols of the Nation magazine. Okay, John, I got too excited there. Forgive me. You raised it, but I was thinking the exact same thing at the moment that it came out of your mouth. So let's answer the question. Why is Bernie and AOC doing this and not the Democratic Party?
I think the Democratic Party has been in shock since November, and it has really not gotten its act together yet. It may in this current crisis over the signal communications or something like that, but it hasn't quite figured out how to be an effective opposition party in this moment, and that kind of stretches across the whole of the party at the national level. Now, here's the interesting twist. You suggest, well, this is what the Democratic Party should be doing. And I think you're right, but it has to be a different Democratic Party to do this.
Yep, fair enough.
And that's at the heart of it. And I wonder if a bunch of Democratic leaders went out, would the reaction be the same as it is when Sanders and AOC go out?
Yeah.
And if Chuck Schumer went out, as an example, would he get the same reaction?
Yeah.
I'm not sure, but I kind of think no. And so I do think that one of the reasons why you're seeing Sanders and AOC do so well out there is because they are trusted as people that will stand up not just to the Republicans, but perhaps also to some of the more compliant Democrats.
No, I was going to say the same thing, John. First of all, Chuck Schumer would not get the same response. As we all know, he canceled his book tour because he didn't want to deal with protesters. If you can't deal with protesters, you certainly can't handle going on a tour talking about oligarchy and getting the kind of pushback that we know he was going to get had he gone on the tour. But here's the point. Democrats have their own oligarchs, as you well know. They have their own oligarchs who they're in bed with. And I take your point that for the Democratic Party to do this, it would have to be a different Democratic Party. This resonates when Bernie and AOC say it because people find them authentic on this particular issue. Bernie Sanders has been warning about oligarchy for years, and apparently people are finally starting to listen. There aren't a bunch of other Democrats who've been warning about oligarchy for years, as Bernie and AOC have, certainly Bernie Sanders. So I take your point. It'd have to be a different Democratic Party to espouse this kind of message. But Bernie and this tour shows Democrats where they ought to be headed. And again, the question is whether or not they're going to listen in real time, John.
Well, and here's the challenge. There are still folks who, criticize Bernie Sanders and some of these other progressives, say, well, you spend too much time talking about the taxing the rich. You spend too much time talking about, these programs, Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, national health care, free education. And, that you're like a one-trick pony. You keep coming back to these same messages. Well, it happens that these are the things that people worry about. People really are worried about Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, about their health care, about their education. It's all under assault. And so when Sanders goes out and speaks on those issues, he's somebody that folks in those crowds know has been talking about this for years. And I think it has power.
Yeah, I hope Democrats are paying attention and taking note. But if they expect to have any success in 2026, somebody better be paying attention. I digress for now. John Nichols, always a delight to have you on, sir. Thanks for your insights. We will do it again. For now, though, enjoy the rest of your day. I thank you.
It's an honor to be with you, my friend, and great discussion as always.
Thank you, sir. More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Bree Wood with 4 Things You Should Know with BIN News. National Security Advisor Mike Waltz took responsibility for an information leak involving U.S. airstrikes in Yemen. In an interview with Laura Ingraham, he admitted